Once again, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Alright, all praises due unto the Most High, Almighty Ahaya. This is the Essene Community Church of Christ. My name is Brother Shamar.
My name is Brother Tabak.
Alright, we'll be bringing today's Shabbat report. Alright. Before we go into that report, let's go to Isaiah 53 and 1. Alright.
Isaiah chapter 53 verse 1. Who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Most High revealed?
Alright, so the scripture we always go into to lead off the Shabbat lesson / report is Isaiah 53 and 1. It says, who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Most High revealed? Alright, so who has believed our report? Going back in the days of ancient Israel, when the Most High was dealing with us as a nation, the Most High would send the word onto a chosen prophet who reached a certain level of purity, and he would let him know the report that was spoken to him by the Most High, the word of the Most High. The prophet would then go on to the people and give this report, and the people would have to listen and incline onto their words and decipher with the precepts or with asking or inquiring of the scriptures. Alright? A lot of times this let the false prophets going home and knowing how the Most High deals in private would come and say they had a dream or they had a revelation from the Most High, and it would be up to the people to be able to determine if it's true or not. Alright, today we'll be giving you a report. It's not our own report because we're not dealing face to face with the Most High this day, but we are going through our forefathers' reports and ensuring that they're interpreted and translated correctly. And with that being said, we're going to go into the lesson today. The lesson today is about chewing the cud, being ruminant. Alright? A lot of times when people look at the scripture, I know for a fact Hebrews, when we came into the Jew, we see what he called chewing the cud, and we looked at the animal, we automatically thought herbs, eating the herbs, and having a split hoof. Alright? Upon investigating the scripture more, that scripture or chewing the cud is way more than just eating herbs. Alright, and this is a key thing that we've been missing that makes us miss certain understanding, key understanding on our nature and what we're supposed to be doing. Alright, and also science-wise on understanding why the animal has to be chewing the cud in order to be clean. With that being said, we're going to go to Psalms 119 and 34.
Psalms chapter 1 verse 119 verse 34. Give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart. Make me to go in the path of thy commandments, for therein do I delight.
Alright, so it says, give me understanding, and I shall keep the law. So when we get this understanding, more understanding, we're able to keep the Most High's laws more and more and more. Alright, so this is an understanding what we're going to go into about chewing the cud, being ruminant, what these things mean, and being cloven-footed, what these things mean to the Most High, being that we understand that the Most High's law is spiritual, but in this case we can take it both physical and spiritual to show you the importance of why physically it's important and why spiritually this same law is important. Alright, so the more understanding we get, the more we shall keep the Most High's law, and we will observe it with our whole heart. We have to seek these things with our whole heart. Alright, and even understanding chewing the cud and being ruminant will show you what seeking the Most High with whole heart is, and how certain people aren't there yet when it comes to the scriptures and seeing certain things in the scriptures. Alright, so we're going to go right into the law that was given to us concerning parting the hoof and chewing the cud. We're going to go to Leviticus 11 and 1.
Leviticus chapter 11 verse 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, As the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you.
Alright, so this scripture goes in and shows you that, and we all know, based on our spiritual understanding, that these animals represented types of men. Alright, so spiritually they represented types of men, clean and unclean men. And the clean was to be have a parted hoof and cloven-footed. And then the scripture goes into what would be the opposite of that. And it gives us two examples, that one could be cloven-footed but not chew the cud, or one could chew the cud and not be cloven-footed. The scriptures here is showing us that you got to be both. So when we go into the spiritual understanding, we can't just do one of them. We have to do both of them. Alright? To be considered clean. So we're going to go into the Hebrew definition of cud. Alright, because once again I said that most people, when they hear cud, or when you ask them what chewing the cud is, they automatically just think it's dealing with the herbs, eating of the herbs. Alright, especially people who don't actually deal with animals. People who deal with animals and know their nature, they would understand what that actually means. But people on the outside looking in, we would think, dealing with the Bible, we're thinking, yeah, split hoof and eating of the herbs. That's what the animal deals with. Alright, so we're going to go into the Hebrew definition of cud.
Cud. Strong's number H1625. Hebrew word gara. Strong's definition from H1641. The cud, as scraping the throat. Cud.
Alright, so even when we go into the definition, it has nothing to do with herbs in the definition, or eating of herbs. It's actually an eating process. And it says they're scraping the throat. So what we're going to go into what that means. What is chewing the cud? What is scraping the throat? What that means, and how does that benefit us spiritually by knowing that? Alright, before we go do that, we're just going to establish that the law is spiritual. Let's go to Romans 7:14 to establish that this law given to us in the Old Testament was a spiritual law and was to be understood spiritually. Even though we're going to take it in and understand it physically as well as spiritually, the main point of it was to be spiritually understood. Alright?
Romans chapter 7 verse 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin.
Alright, so it says we know the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. Alright, so the prophets, alright, the apostles, they all knew that the law was spiritual and that they are sold under sin. Alright, example that they knew the law was spiritual, going back to Peter and his vision. Alright, you got the vision where both animals, clean and unclean. After that vision, he knew that this couldn't have been right, and then it was revealed to him that he was supposed to be dealing with the Gentiles, but now he should deal with the Gentiles. To show you in the New Testament, they understand the spiritual law, alright? And he had the vision, and he knew that in the vision it didn't mean that. Alright, let's go to Romans 8:6. And that's also a clean law. Animal law, another dietary law you would want to say that was given in the New Testament. The Most High gave it in Leviticus 11, where we're to deal with the clean and not the unclean. And in the Peter's vision, he showed us that we could deal with clean and unclean. All right, showing you what Christ came to deal with the sinners. He was sitting with the sinners. We're here to be among the unclean. All right, the clean don't need clean to be around them because they're already righteous. They're already dealing with that. We have to go to those who are not. All right, but let's go to Romans 8:6.
Romans chapter 8 verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High. For it is not subject to the law of the Most High, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please the Most High.
Alright. So to be carnally minded, alright, to just think when you're dealing with the scriptures carnally and on a physical plane, that's death. All right, but to be spiritually minded and to expand and think more metaphorically and all of these things, this is life and peace. All right, example of that is going into the law and seeing if you just take it in physically, carnally, you'll see killing and all of this. But if you take it in spiritually and metaphorically, you see that it's all life and peace, and that all that gore and evilness and killing and murder is not really present. All right, it's only present in the carnal mind. And this was to actually done to shun out and to block off carnal-minded people. So carnal-minded people wouldn't be able to actually see the law and be dealing with the Most High's righteous things. All right, and it's their own mind that allows them not to see it. It's there, but their own mind stops them from that. All right, we got the dictionary definition. It says the state or feeling of being actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. All right, friction, bitterness, ill feeling, bad blood, antipathy, hostility, resentment,
enmity. Strong's number G 2189. Greek word ekthra. Strong's definition, feminine of G 2190, hostility, by implication a reason for opposition, enmity, hatred. Thayer definition, enmity, cause of enmity.
All right, opposition. All right, hostile, against. All right, so it's in opposition to the Most High, and we can just look at that example about looking at the sacrifices and seeing that if you take it in spiritually, it's unleavened bread and grape juice, but if you take it in carnally, it turns into blood and flesh. All right, let's go to John 4:23.
John chapter 4 verse 23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. The Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
All right, so this is the hour that cometh where true worshipers are going to worship the Most High in spirit and in truth. So this is the time now we're going to understand the spiritual understanding of chewing the cud and following that law, because we followed it before, but we followed it under the carnal law. So we're going to take in and ensure that spiritually we are following this law of chewing the cud and being cloven-footed. All right, so we're going to go to the spiritual breakdown, which is in the Epistle of Barnabas, chapter 10.
Epistle of Barnabas, chapter 10. Take a full and firm grasp of this spiritual knowledge. But Moses says still further, ye shall eat every animal that is cloven-footed and ruminant. What does he mean? The ruminant animal denotes him who on receiving food recognizes him that nourishes him, and being satisfied by him is visibly made glad. Well spake Moses, having respect to the commandment. What then does he mean? That we ought to join ourselves to those that fear the Most High, those who meditate in their heart on the commandment which they have received, those who both utter the judgments of the Most High and observe them, those who know that meditation is a work of gladness, and who ruminate upon the word of the Most High. But what means the cloven-footed? That the righteous man also walks in this world, yet looks forward to the holy state to come. Behold how well Moses legislated. But how was it possible for them to understand or comprehend these things? We then, rightly understanding his commandments, explain them as the Most High intended. For this purpose he circumcised our ears and our hearts, that we might understand these things.
All right, so the scripture goes into, all right, that Moses was speaking of spiritual understanding and Israel didn't understand. All right, he was dealing with spiritual knowledge when he said, you shall eat of every animal that is cloven-footed and ruminant. All right, and the ruminant animals, he shows example that when the ruminant animal gets food from its master, and those who's feeding it, it's visibly happy and shows that praise and that, you know, that gladness to the owner. All right. And if you see those animals like the sheep and all of them, they're smiling. They're always, you know, they're always smiling and stuff. All right. And it also goes into another meaning of the ruminant animal being like the ruminant animal, which comes to dealing with those who meditate their heart on the commandment of the Most High that they receive, and those who utter the judgments of the Most High, and those whose meditation is the work of gladness, and who ruminate on the word. And we're going to see what this ruminating on the word is. And this is going to connect in with meditation and all of those things. All right, so we're going to go to the definition, all right, the dictionary definition of cud.
Definition of cud. Cud, noun, food regurgitated from the first stomach to the mouth of a ruminant and chewed again. 2. Something held in the mouth and chewed, such as a plug of tobacco. Cud, noun, zoology, partially digested food regurgitated from the first stomach of cattle and other ruminants to the mouth for a second chewing. 2. Chew the cud to reflect or think over something. Old English, kadu, from kwidu, what has been chewed, related to Old Norse kavatha, resin, for chewing. Old High German quidi.
You have to read that part.
Okay. The idiomatic expression chewing one's cud means meditating or pondering. Similar expressions such as he chewed that over for a bit or chew on that likely have the same derivation.
All right, so the definition of cud goes into food regurgitated from the stomach, all right, of the mouth of a ruminant and chewed again. So this deals with regurgitation of food from the stomach of the animal. So this shows you how far away it just went from just the animal eating herbs, all right? It's actually an eating process. Animals, beings that operate this way, eat food and then they regurgitate it back up and continuously eat it again in order to get all its nutrients. All right, in order to get all its nutrients. And this process happens a couple times well. All right. It also goes into the cud. Chew the cud also means to reflect or think over something. All right. And it goes into people saying chew that a bit or chew on that. These are expressions people still use to this day and age. All right, so we're going to go into even more understanding on what the chewing the cud is and the regurgitation and what that does for the animal. All right, and spiritually about meditating, how that connects to meditation. All right, so we're going to go to Job 12:7. All right, just to show you that we're going to actually go into nature and observe these things. And the scriptures tells us to do that. Job 12:7.
Job chapter 12 verse 7. But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee, or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee.
All right, so the scriptures tells us to ask the beasts, and they'll teach us. The fowls of the air, they'll tell us. Speak to the earth, it shall teach us. The fishes shall declare these things. Creation shall declare these things unto us. All right, let's go to Ecclesiastes 3:18 to show that our state in being and how we operate is that of a beast. All right, that's because we could go to them, observe them, and see similarities in us, whether righteous or unrighteous. All right, Ecclesiastes 3:18.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 18. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that they Salakia, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts. Every one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that a man has no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity. All go unto one place, all are of the dust, and all turn to dust again.
Alright, so the states of the sons of men, alright, us ourselves are beasts, alright, and that which befalls the beasts, same thing befall us spiritually and physically. Alright, we both use the bathroom, we both do the same things, we both have the breath of life, we operate in the same way, we all have families, whether clean or unclean, you'll be operating like one of the beasts. Alright, and in this state that we're in, this fleshly state, we have no preeminence above the beast. In our spiritual state, we have much preeminence over the beast. Alright, so we're going to go into some articles on what chewing the cud is and why cattle chew the cud.
What is cud, and why do cattle chew it? Have you ever noticed that when you see a cow, it always seems to be chewing something? The reason is that cows must chew their food twice in order to digest it properly. Cows spend nearly 8 hours out of every day chewing their cud. This plus normal chewing of food can total upwards of 40,000 jaw movements per day.
Alright, so this shows you, alright, ruminating on the word, alright, this is what the animals do. A lot of times when you see the animals in the field or something, it's chewing its mouth. Spiritually for us, that would be us meditating, alright, that's the animal bringing up what was brought up earlier and continuously chewing out of it, not just chewing it for no reason, but to continuously get nourishment and take out toxins and things out of it, alright, and you're going to see that. But it spends 8 hours of the day chewing cud. So if we're going to be an animal or clean animals, the Most High is telling us to operate like these clean animals. These animals chew 8 hours per day their cud, alright? Continue for us.
Cattle are ruminant animals. This means their stomach contains 4 compartments. 1. Rumen. 2. Reticulum. 3. Omasum. 4. Abomasum. When a cow first takes a bite, it chews just enough to moisten the food. Once swallowed, the food goes into the first section, the rumen, where it mixes with other acidic digestive liquids and is softened. The softened food is called cud, small balls of food. Next, the rumen muscles send the cud back up to the cow's mouth, where it is re-chewed and swallowed again, this time going to the omasum section of the stomach in order to squeeze out all of the moisture. Finally, the food enters the last part, abomasum of the stomach, where it mixes with digestive juices and makes its way to the intestine to be completely digested.
Alright, so right here is just showing you, alright, that the animal, when it takes its first bite, alright, it's not, that first bite is not actually what it's going to swallow into the stomach, alright? That bite gets chewed just a little bit to moisten this, to get it started, and it goes down and it's brought up back later. That's supposed to be how we treat information as well when we get it, alright? You take a chunk, you go into it a little bit, you put it down, and then you bring it back up later, and you're going to have to bring it through certain processes before you bring it into the stomach. That's why when we get certain information, how we operate, it doesn't go right out because we got it. It has to go and get a process of breaking down and breaking down and breaking down and breaking down until, yeah, what we're going to put in the body, in the stomach, is pure and clean, and we got all the things that's supposed to be out of it. Okay, that's how the animals operate. All right, that's how we're trying to operate and set up things so that we get things. We eat it, we take the chunk out of it, but it has to go through a process of digestion before we could just put it into the body. All right. That's the physical body, or the body, let's say Christ or the church. Those processes. You can continue for us.
Cud chewing is often used as an indicator of a healthy and comfortable herd. A happy, healthy animal will produce more milk or have a higher production of muscle. Animals who do not chew their cud properly may be scared or have digestive issues such as twisted stomachs or a displaced abomasum, their fourth section of the stomach. Feeding high quality forages will help to ensure the cows are digesting and chewing their cud properly.
Alright, so it's showing you that animals that even have this ability to chew the cud, the cow owners have to make sure that what they're eating and all of these things is making the cow actually chew the cud properly. Alright, and animals that have the stomachs to chew the cud and don't chew the cud properly actually start to have problems and diseases and things like that. Alright, so if they don't, animals that have the ability to chew the cud, if they don't chew it, they start to inherit diseases and things like that. So that's even us, we could take that in. If the Most High gave us the ability to chew the cud spiritually, if we don't, we start to have twisted stomachs and these problems start to arise. And you'll see that if you don't chew the cud, this is where the injections and all of these things creep into the scriptures, all right, because they're not properly chewing the information that they're getting, all right, and doing that with the scriptures. So the Most High is telling us to do that with the scriptures, showing us that He knows that the scriptures will have certain toxic things in it, because we're eating, the animals eating, everything's supposed to be good, but it's still taking toxins out. There's still toxins in there. All right, so you can continue for us.
Since cattle are flight animals, meaning they run from danger, they don't fight back. It is thought that the original reason for the double digestion was to let the animal eat as much as they could before needing to flee the area. Then they would bring the forage back up to properly digest it at a later, safer time. Cud chewing is also necessary because the foods ruminant animals eat are difficult to digest, and it takes extra effort to get all of the nutrients from the food. Other examples of ruminant animals include deer, camels, buffaloes, goats, sheep, and giraffes.
Alright, giraffes. So it shows you that, what they originally thought that the animal was being ruminant for was that it could take up more food and be able to run from its enemies and whatnot. That was the theory prior. Alright, let's go to the ruminant definition. Alright, the Wikipedia definition of ruminant. Ruminate, I should say. Ruminate.
Ruminate definition. Ruminants are mammals that are able to acquire nutrients from plant-based food by fermenting it in a specialized stomach prior to digestion, principally through microbial actions. The process, which takes place in the front part of the digestion system and therefore is called foregut fermentation, typically requires the fermented ingesta known as cud to be regurgitated and chewed again. The process of re-chewing the cud to further break down plant matter and stimulate digestion is called rumination. The word ruminant comes from the Latin ruminare, which means to chew over again.
Alright, so the animal, alright, basically the food gets fermented in the animal's body because it's storing it up there to be ate again. Alright, and that food that comes back up again, that's what's known as the cud. And that cud the Most High compares to His word, that it should go through a process of being continually chewed and re-chewed over. Alright, And the word ruminant means to chew over again. So the Most High is telling us to constantly be chewing over His word, constantly going back through it, all right, and chewing and breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down. So it doesn't stop with, oh, we got it and break it down once and that's it. And you're going to see what happens to animals that do that, because that's the animals that don't ruminate. You're going to see that they actually swallow and they don't chew their food. They don't break the stuff down. When they do that, they have health problems and certain things. All right, and they become unclean, and the things in their body get all the toxins and all of that. All right, so by us constantly breaking things down and breaking things down and breaking it down, and also going slowly as well, you're going to see that we're to chew slowly, so we can't be in a haste. These animals chew very slowly. All right, we have to go at a slow pace. All right, all of these things have to be taken into consideration when we're dealing with the scriptures of what the Most High is showing us. So the ruminate, or chewing the cud, is much deeper than, you know, what the mind first thought it was to be, which is eating of the herbs. All right, this is a process. This is a way you should go about dealing with the word, breaking down the scriptures, getting information, dealing with the information that you get, taking a big chunk, but not putting it right into your body right away, putting it into a process of digestion, process of breaking down before it actually goes into the body. And that's why people see us take so care in information that we get, that you can't just put it right out into the body. It has to go through a process. All right, and that's what the animals do, and they spend 8 hours of their day chewing and ruminating on their food, and that's what we have to do with the Most High's word. And we can see why Satan would put it in his own 8 hours thing that you got to do. All right, instead of ruminating on the word, you got to deal with his things for 8 hours.
Just like, you know, with the animals that don't ruminate, you know, they could, you know, cause harm to their body physically, but when it comes to the word there, it could cause people spiritual harm if you're not careful.
Yeah, spiritual danger, spiritual harm, letting these toxins in, not chewing the food properly. All right, let's go to the next part, more on chewing the cud.
The cud that returns to her mouth has been partially digested by bacteria in the rumen, with the digested bits passing along her digestive system. The undigested cud must be broken down by her teeth some more and swallowed again for further processing. The cycle repeats until the entire cud is broken down and digested. The cow will spend approximately 8 hours per day chewing her cud if she is healthy and receiving proper nutrition.
All right, so if you're receiving proper nutrition, proper understanding from the scriptures, all of these things, you'll be chewing on the Most High's word that much during the day. All right, 8 hours is showing you that these animals spend. All right, and the cud is constantly being broken down, broken down, broken down, and broken down. That's the key thing we have to take from this. All right, continue for us.
Break down food. Different groups of animals eat different foods. But what do animals physically do with the food they consume? The different methods of breaking down food all make up mechanical digestion, which occurs from the time the animal consumes the food until it enters the stomach. This is opposed to chemical digestion, which is what happens once chewed or ground up food is flooded with enzymes and acids to break it down further. Ruminating over ruminants. Ruminants are mammals that can break down cellulose. Humans have one stomach that fills with hydrochloric acid and enzymes to help break down food. Ruminants, such as cows, have a stomach with several compartments. Cows, like all herbivores, eat grasses and other plant material. Plants contain cellulose, which is very hard to digest even for an herbivore. So when a cow swallows some grass, the chewed grass first enters the compartment of the stomach called the rumen. The rumen contains a salty solution and bacteria that helps to break down the cellulose. Cows then regurgitate (spit up) the material from the rumen called cud back into their mouths. they chew their cud to help break down the cellulose even further. The cud is swallowed again and it re-enters the rumen. This cycle repeats as necessary until the material is broken down far enough to be churned up and passed into the true stomach. From there, digestion continues through the intestines and excretory system of the cow. Salakia.
Alright, so this shows you, goes over the breaking down of the cud once again, and shows you that the cud doesn't enter into the stomach, alright? The true stomach doesn't enter into till after, and even after that, still going through a digestion process to show us that we gotta constantly bring the Most High's word and this information through this digestive process that takes a while, that goes through a whole bunch of processes. All right, can't just be swallowed one time and brought in. That's how toxic things get into the body. All right, so that's key understanding that people, you know, if they had that understanding, to be able to get more deceptions, more things in the scriptures that's not supposed to be there out if they're constantly going over the scriptures and breaking it down. Because when people are going over the scripture, sometimes they're not there to break down the scripture. Sometimes they're repeating the scripture. They're not investigating the scripture. All right, we got to investigate the scriptures. All right, not just repeat it and try to understand what it said there, but understand the actual writing.
You don't find jewels when you just, you know, the first shovel into the dirt.
Yeah.
You gotta dig deep.
Gotta continue digging, and that's why he says these things are like jewels or gems. All right, to get the gems, you gotta dig, and it takes a long time. Sometimes you're digging for no reason. People who have these companies dig a lot of places up, and they don't get any gems. All right. So the next part is, why is pig meat so toxic?
Why is pig meat so toxic? Animals that chew the cud, as it says in the Bible, are called ruminants. These animals hardly chew their food when it is first swallowed, but they have 4 stomachs that digest and regurgitate food through a special process that allows complete digestion. The major ruminants are cows, sheep, and goats.
Alright, so it shows us, alright, that these animals, once again, when they first chew the food, they barely chew, alright, when it's first swallowed. Alright, so some people, when they get this new information, they chewing and we can't operate at that. We take a little off of it, put it down a little, meditate on it, come back, break it down again. Alright, that's how clean animals operate. Alright, especially it says the major ruminants, the cows, the sheep, and the goats. Alright, continue.
The digestive system of a pig is unique in that it metabolizes food very quickly through one stomach in a process that takes about 4 hours. A cow takes 24 hours to digest what's eaten, and it is able to get rid of excess toxins during the digestive process. The pig's digestive system doesn't allow for this, and the toxins are carried into the fat cells and organs of the pig itself. Pigs also do not have sweet glands. Perspiration is a key method the body uses to detoxification, and the pig is not designed to perspire. When we consume pig meat, we get all of these pathogenic microorganisms and environmental toxins into our system.
Alright, so the digestive system of a pig is unique, alright, that it metabolizes food very quickly, and it has one stomach, alright, does one process. Alright, so it doesn't, if this is a person who's dealing with the word, this person has one process. They go through the scripture with their mind one time, that's it, boom, 4 hours later, boom, everything's ready to put out. Alright, that's how we can't deal with it. The animals that deal with this, they take off a big piece, they barely chew it, and they bring it back up later, and it goes through a process of continuous breakdown. that takes time, all right? 24 hours. The pigs takes 4 hours, all right? The pig barely able to get out the toxins, things that are inside of these things that are harmful to it, all right? And that goes into the body compared to an animal that's ruminant, that continuously breaking that out and taking all the toxins out of the food. All right, and the pig doesn't have sweat glands. All right, doesn't have able to get rid of germs within through sweating, so it all stays inside of there. Yeah, and I can see why the Essenes them they wear linen on the Sabbaths and stuff, because they don't want to sweat or whatever while they're on their holy day, right? Yeah, they want to make sure it's cool outside.
Linen breeze will pass right through that. You feel like
Yeah,
you're
yeah, beer free. Alright, so we're going to go on meditating on the word, alright, and we're going to show you examples in the scriptures, alright, an example in the scripture where they're going out in the field, or they're going out and they're ruminating on the word, and they're behaving as animals, alright, and we didn't look at this meditation as that, but now we can see it in a better light, alright. Let's go to Genesis 24:63.
Genesis chapter 24 verse 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming.
Alright, so Isaac went in the field at evening tide. Alright, and he was meditating in the field. Alright, so he was re-going over the word of the Most High over and over. And he's doing it in the field just like the animals do. When you see the animals there, and you know, someone's even in a car and they look at it, and the animal has something in its mouth and is just chewing, or this is what the animals do constantly. Alright, the ruminant animals, they're constantly re-chewing their food in their spare time when they're not doing things. At all times, they're just re-chewing their food as they're going by their day. Alright, let's go to evening tide.
You want to drink water?
Yeah, the evening tide is sunset, dusk. Alright, so that was at sundown. He was going to meditate in the field. Alright, let's go to Joshua 1:8.
Joshua chapter 1 verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success.
Alright, so the scriptures tells us to even operate like the animals, to meditate therein day and night. Alright, to observe, to do according to that's written. Alright, so that's to ruminate day and night, to continuously be ruminating upon the word, going back over certain things, keep breaking this down, breaking that down, and ensuring that you're getting the full understanding out of there, all right, and the toxins out of there, the things that aren't good, reviewing the scriptures. All right, let's go to Psalm 63:6.
Psalms chapter 63 verse 6. When I remember thee upon my bed, and meditate on thee in the night watches, because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul followeth hard after thee, thy right hand upholdeth me.
Alright, so it even goes to ruminating in the night, at specific times of the night. Alright, the prophets slept during the night, but they woke up at specific times to give their meditation and their prayers. Alright, and David lets us in on there that he also is up in the nighttime, in the watches at night. Alright, give the prayer and go back to rest. Alright, Psalms 119:15.
I will meditate in thy precepts, and have respect unto thy ways. I will delight myself in thy statutes. I will not forget thy word.
So we'll meditate in the Most High's precepts. We meditate in the Most High's precepts and have respect unto his ways. Alright, so it continuously tells us to constantly be meditating on the Most High's word, and that meditation spiritually, alright, if you're dealing with animals and stuff like that, that's ruminating on the word, continuously going and breaking down. That's what it means by meditating, pondering, thinking on the Most High's word, going back over it and over and over and over it. All right, that's what a ruminant animal does constantly during its day. Let's go to 1 Timothy 4 and 11.
1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 11. These things command and teach. Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Neglect not the gift that is in thee, which was given thee by prophecy, with the laying on of the hands of the presbytery. Meditate upon these things. Give thyself wholly to them, that thy profiting may appear to all. Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them. For in doing this, thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee.
All right, so these things the scriptures tell us to teach and command. All right, let nobody despise the youth. We're to be an example of believers in word, conversation, charity, spirit, faith, purity. All right, we're to give attendance to reading, exhortation, to doctrine, and we're not to neglect these gifts. All right, and we're to meditate upon these. We're to constantly ruminate on these things and give ourselves wholly onto them. All right, that profiting can appear to all. And when we do these things, people that hear us, all right, ourselves and the people that hear us will be saved. And that's what's happening now by us ruminating on the word, getting everything that needs to get out. People that's hearing also this doctrine and these things for the first time is also being saved by these very same things. All right, so we're to constantly be ruminating and meditating on these things, just like the clean animals do. All right, so we're going to go to our next document here.
Just as a sheep is a ruminating animal, we also must ruminate the word of the Most High. The word ruminate means to regurgitate and rechew food. This is a characteristic of some animals, like the ox and sheep, that have a complex stomach with 3 or 4 chambers or compartments that are adapted for ruminating. This gives them the benefit that all the nutrients contained in the food ingested are well used. Not only teeth are important when chewing food, but also saliva. In this phase, the food becomes finer so that the gastric juice in the stomach is able to break open even more of the molecules to be absorbed by the organism. If we observe a sheep, we will realize that it spends most of its time lying down in the pasture, moving its mouth, as if it were chewing gum. Actually, it is ruminating the food. Since as it chews the food, its orgasm produces more saliva to help in digestion. Eating very fast complicates our digestion. Once I was very helped in this matter when I was invited to eat a meal in the house of a brother who was older than I. When he observed that I was very quickly eating the foods that were served to me, he advised me to chew each bite at least 30 times. Salakia, at least 30 times. After this experience, I began to eat more slowly. This attitude not only lessens stomach-related problems, but also helps our digestive system to function better. Similarly, when we read the word of the Most High, we need to do it properly. Because of this, we always encourage the brothers and sisters to not only read the word, but also to pray and ruminate what they read.
Alright. So the animal, All right, sheep, they spend most of their day, like it continuously says, ruminating on the food. All right, breaking that down, and regurgitation as well. I forgot to touch on the regurgitation, on keep bringing up old matters back up. All right, keep continuously. We don't just put something away, but we continuously gotta bring back up the old subjects and break it down again and again, and that's the process that we have to go through. All right, and just understanding the chewing of the cud and ruminating of the animals, we begin to understand, what exactly the Most High is telling us, and how this information is good to our spirit and our soul and our being and our understanding. Alright, so the re-chewing, the regurgitation of the food, the constant breaking down. Alright, and then it goes into the taking your bites and chewing even 30 times your food. Alright, that's the same process as us, because especially as us humans, we can't just swallow it down, because now looking at it, we don't even have those stomachs that the ruminant animals have, that's constantly breaking down the things. So how much more should we chew the food properly that we take in, or become like the unclean animals that just swallow the food down? Alright, let's go to the Essene Gospel of Peace. This is in the section called the Science of Fasting.
2. Sobriety. Essene Gospel of Peace, Science of Fasting. 2. Sobriety. And chew well your food with your teeth, that it become water, and that the angel of water turn it into blood in your body. And eat slowly, as it were a prayer you make to the Most High. For I tell you truly, the powers of the Most High enters into you, if you eat after this manner at his table.
Alright, so the scriptures even speak about chewing well your food, alright? And that it would assimilate into your body and turn into water and turn into blood in your body and be fully assimilated into your body, and you receive the powers of the Most High. And the thing, when people speak about powers of the Most High, they don't look at science and these little things. If you just do this thing will happen, and that's a power of the Most High. It's not a literal, you're gonna feel the power or something comes and these are simple things that are within our body that helps our body operate. That's a power of the Most High. All right, when you allow your food to digest properly and it goes through the process it's supposed to happen. Alright, so we're going to go to the next section, the cloven-footed. This part is pretty, understandable. So we're going back to Leviticus 11 and 3.
Leviticus chapter 11 verse 3. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed.
Alright, so we're going to go to Epistle of Barnabas chapter 10 and just take in what cloven-footed means.
Epistle of Barnabas chapter 10. But what means the cloven-footed? That the righteous man also walks in this world, yet looks forward to the holy estate to come. Behold how well Moses legislated. But how was it possible for them to understand or comprehend these things? We then, rightly understanding his commandments, explain them as the Most High intended. For this purpose he circumcised our ears and our hearts, that we might understand these things.
Alright, so the cloven-footed means, alright, the righteous man walks in this world and looks to the holy state to come. And this is a key thing, because this goes back into, we just went through the Purim thing, and we understood that Amalek, when he was being told by his father about the promises of Israel and the world to come after, didn't pay attention at that part. And when he's just looking on this world, this is when people start to do things of their own kind, because they think things are just of this world and there's not a next world to come. All right, people who operate like that, they have the YOLO attitude. All right, you only live once. I could do whatever I want. All right, the animals that are cloven-footed, all right, or man who operates like they're cloven-footed, we're looking at this world, but we also know the next world to come, and us understanding there's a next world to come puts certain behaviors in us. All right, understanding that there's more to come. There's more to come. People who are just dealing with, understanding this world and only this world, they don't expect more to come. So they treat this world as whatever. It's a one-shot thing. You only live once. I could do whatever I want right now. All right, so the scriptures is telling us to dwell around people who do these things, who ruminate on the world, dwell with them, congregate with them, be with these type of people who ruminate upon the word of the Most High, and who are cloven-footed, who's looking at this world but also to the world to come. All right, and that ruminating means going back, re-chewing the food, regurgitating topics. All right, constantly breaking down everything that you're going and taking out toxins, taking out infirmities out of the scriptures. Spending most of your day operating like ruminant animals, re-chewing over the food, re-going through breakdowns. That's what the scriptures tells us to do. All right, and that's far more than what, previously I thought in my mind, which ruminant or, chewing the cud just meant eating the herb. The animal eats herbs. See how much more information is in there when you actually look in there. Alright, so with that being said, let's go to the definition of cloven foot.
Cloven foot definition. Cloven foot, noun. Medical definition of cloven foot. A foot as of a sheep, divided into two parts at its distal extremity.
Alright, so the cloven foot, alright, two parts. So we know this life that we have, alright, the life of the soul has two parts. It has this physical world that we're in right now, and it has the light world that's going to be thereafter. Alright, if you're not operating in light and having the fruits of the Spirit and these things, you won't be entering that light world, but you'll be going to a place of, or you'll be entering that light world, but you'll be going to a place of damnation, alright, and punishment. And once again, that cloven foot is looking at the two worlds and understanding them, going through the understanding that people in the scriptures who are dealing with evil and wickedness at high rate are people who never heard that about the afterworld and what's to come, and they only are dealing with the thought process that this is the true world. All right. So that being said, we're gonna wrap it up, and we're gonna go to Romans 10 and 13.
Romans chapter 10 verse 13. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Most High shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace, and bring glad tidings of good things. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah saith, the Most High, who has believed our report? So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High power.
Alright, so this goes into, alright, how can people, understand if they haven't been sent a preacher? How can they heard if somebody hasn't been sent? Alright, especially how can they know about somebody if they haven't heard about his name? Alright, and it goes into preaching the gospel of peace. Alright, and it goes into Isaiah, the prophecy that Isaiah gave, that we gave at the beginning of the scripture. Who has believed our report? Alright, and faith, saying, cometh by hearing, and by hearing comes by hearing the word of the Most High. Alright, which speaketh, that the prophets are giving us its exact quotes from. Alright, let's go to Philippians 4 and 8.
Philippians chapter 4 verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do, and the Most High power of peace shall be with you.
Alright, so that's our lesson today, the understanding of being ruminant, alright, and chewing the cud, and having cloven feet, and operating as that, alright, and following the Most High's law, which tells us not to deal with people who aren't operating in that mode. Alright, that was actually Old Testament. Now he's telling us to actually go and deal with people who aren't operating that mode, and try to compel them to operate in that mode. Alright, so with that being said, we understand that chewing the cud is far more than just eating herbs. Chewing the cud is actually a eating process, a process that deals with animal having multiple stomachs or multiple processes of digestion before the food actually goes into the stomach. Each one of these processes is taking more toxins out and breaking down the cud, which would be information if that's spiritually dealing with man, or the word of the Most High, anything like that, and constantly breaking it down and taking out any infirmities, toxins, until it reaches the stomach for digestion. And even going into the stomach after that, there's more digestion to do and breaking down to do. All right. And the cloven foot is looking to the both worlds, understanding this world and dwelling in it and being in it, but also looking to the next world to come, and understanding that people who don't look to the next world or believe in the next world, they oftentimes abuse this world that they're in right now. All right. So with that being said, we want to say all praises due unto the Most High Almighty Ahaya. This is the SCM Community Church of Christ. My name is Brother Shamar.
My name is Brother Tabak.
All right, and that's the report that we'll be bringing for this Shabbat. All right. Once again, Tuesday sundown. All right. I said Wednesday at the beginning of the video. That was a error there. Salakia. Tuesday sundown is Day of Remembrance, and the new year that we're bringing in. All right. So I want to say all praises to the Most High, Kwam Yasharallah, and enjoy the rest of the Shabbat.
Shalom.